Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about why you still feel bad, why you're still struggling with insert X symptom, acne, PMS, painful periods, whatever the case is, but your labs keep coming back normal. This is something that I see a lot. Usually, by the time women get to me, they have gone to multiple doctors, they are doing all the things, and they still feel awful, but their labs keep coming back normal. And it can be really frustrating and defeating. And so I'm going to break down why that's happening and why conventional lab work isn't giving you the full story and how my approach is different. So, before we dive in today, I am going to switch things up a little bit and I'm actually going to be answering the question that I usually answer at the end, just to share a little insight and some personal stuff about me. My question is how I'm nourishing myself. So, last Friday was just one of those days where everything went wrong. I'm sure everyone's had a day like that. In fact, I know everyone's had a day like that. When it rains, it pours. So, I had some upsetting stuff happen in the morning. I mean, nothing crazy, like nothing absolutely mind blowing, but I mean, it was upsetting information for me. It had to do with my business. And that really set the tone for the day. And then after that, seemingly like every little thing that could go wrong went wrong. And it was really a bummer because I was honestly really looking forward to that day because it was Valentine's Day and I had planned on, I was treating myself to a facial and then I was going to cook a fancy dinner for Jared and and was just, I really built it up in my head. And so when the day just was a crappy day, it was tough, especially when I was like looking forward to it for so long. So in this moment, when everything was happening, I decided to take a step back and nourish myself by doing that. A lot of times when something's going wrong, we tend to push ourselves more to try and fix it, right? So, like, what do I need to do to fix it? And this is the case for me as well. Typically, I would be like, okay, well, I need to work harder. I need to work longer. I shouldn't take a break. But in that moment, I realized that was the opposite of what my body needed and what my mind needed. And so I took a step back and I ended up just taking a half day and pushed the rest of my work to the next day. I actually ended up doing it on Sunday, which I sometimes like doing work on the weekends and giving myself some breaks during the week. And I was really proud of myself for that. I also reached out to some friends and colleagues of mine who I've really connected with. They're some of my best friends and just kind of explain the work situation since they can understand that from a entrepreneurship lens and they really get it. And I also cried a little bit to Jared and was just kind of like chatting with him about it. Um, and it was really helpful and helped me put things into perspective. And he also, like, that night was just really nice and he let me vent things out. And so it was just really helpful for me again to take a step back. And I got brunch with a friend the next day, which was good timing. So I was chatting with her about it. And it just kind of came to me when we were eating brunch. I was like, this reminds me of we both were former group fitness instructors, both had a disordered relationship with food and exercise at some point in our life. So we can relate on that level as well. And I said, it's kind of like when you are really tired and you keep pushing yourself to work out, like it just drives you into the ground more versus recognizing, hey, like I actually need to rest. Like the most productive thing for me is to take a rest day right now. And then you come back to your workouts, you're more rejuvenated, you feel better, you enjoy them more, you get better results, you have a better workout. It's the same thing with other aspects of our life. So I nourished myself by taking a step back versus pushing myself forward, feeling like that would be what I should do, which feels counterintuitive. But it was really, really helpful. And I took the rest of the weekend just to, you know, really relax. And, like I said, I did some work, but it was really nice to take that half day and to just de-stress and vent and just go through the waves of the emotions that I experienced. So that's how I nourished myself most recently that I wanted to share. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can really benefit from hearing that of needing to take a step back versus pushing themselves. All right, so let's jump in. The reasons why you feel like crap, but your labs keep coming back normal. The first thing with this is the wrong labs are run. So most doctors don't specialize in everything, right? They might run general panels rather than specialized testing tailored to your unique symptoms and needs. So I'm going to use the example of acne since I'm really, I specialize in helping women clear their acne, and acne is very much a host of lots of different things, but it has a very big link to people who have been on birth control, oftentimes to quote unquote heal their acne, um, or women who are having hormonal symptoms as well. So, most doctors don't specialize in acne, and so they won't be running labs that pinpoint the root causes of acne. So, this could be gut health, mineral imbalances, inflammation, stress, nutrient deficiencies. And this is why working with a women's health expert is so, so important. You need someone who knows exactly what to look for. And we'll be talking later about, ranges too, because if we're looking at what's normal versus what's optimal for women's health, that those are completely separate things. It's like comparing apples and oranges. So, point number one is the wrong labs are run. And a lot of times that's due to lack of specialization in the symptom that you are struggling with. The next thing is standardized testing lacks personalization. So, kind of bleeding off of the point I just made. Um, most of the time when you're meeting with your doctor, it's a 5 to 20 minute appointment, right? And they will ask the same questions typically. So, do you exercise? How's your stress? How much alcohol do you drink? Do you eat fruits and vegetables? Do you eat healthy? Like very standard questions. And a lot of times, like I said in the beginning, the women that I'm working with, we're going beyond the basics. Like most of the women I work with, like they have really good foundations or they just have a couple of things to tweak and or they've seen lots of specialists before. So they've done all the things, right? Like they're exercising, they're trying to manage their stress. That's a hard one. Everyone has room to grow in that area, including myself, but maybe they've tried eliminating alcohol or they've decreased alcohol. They're healthy eaters. Some might even go to the point of eating quote unquote too healthy or restricting themselves too much because of what they've been told by their doctors. So it's actually working against them. And these things don't really deeply assess what's going on and what's causing insert X symptom, fatigue, PMS, acne, whatever, painful periods. So my approach is very different because whenever I meet with a one-on-one client, I do a 90-minute deep dive assessment where I'm connecting the dots between your symptoms, blending your history and your full body into it. So I'm going through basically like every single area of the body and I'm breaking down how's your gut? What's your medication history? What does your daily food intake? I'm not just asking you, like, do you eat healthy? I'm looking at, like, what's your relationship with food like? Because that's a big player. What's your exercise routine like? Maybe you're exercising too much where it's putting stress on your body, it's dysregulating blood sugar. That can lead to hormonal imbalances and gut health issues. I love the 90-minute assessment because it also helps me, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. This is what we're getting. This is leading to X symptom, or this is definitely a key player. This is a lab I want to do to confirm this or kind of get some more information on this. And I always give my clients like an initial protocol whenever we have that first session, because I personally hate when you wait to get in with a doctor and then they're like, oh, well, let me run some labs and then I'll like give you feedback later. No, you're always going to get something to work on. I always will figure out something that you can work on in the meantime to build some good solid foundations, even if you think you have really solid foundations. There's never been a time where I've met with somebody and I was like, yep, it's perfect. We just have to wait for labs. There's always something I can give them to work on in the meantime. So that was kind of off tangent, but my point is, that brief visit that you have with your doctor, they're just scratching the surface. They can't get deeper into exactly what's leading to your symptoms. And point number 3, moving on, these all are blending really well together. I didn't expect that. Point number 3 is the surface level approach to symptoms. So, little vocab lesson. I use this word quite a bit. When I say conventional medicine, I'm talking about our standardized healthcare system, the one where you pay for insurance and you see your doctor. They're oftentimes focusing on treating the symptom itself versus the deeper root cause. not why is this happening? So why do you struggle with chronic acne? They're focusing on, if you see like a dermatologist who is a conventionally trained dermatologist, they're going to try tretinoin, spironolactone, antibiotics, topicals. They're trying to focus just on the acne versus, but why are you struggling with acne to begin with? Painful periods or missing periods. Most of the time, doctors are just going to recommend going on birth control to mask that. We know that that's actually not getting to the root cause. It's actually not solving your painful periods. It's actually not giving you a true period back. It's a Band-Aid. And that's why a lot of women, when they stop birth control, they have an awful time and their symptoms come back. And oftentimes they're worse because of the compounding negative effects that birth control has on your body. That's why I'm very, very passionate about helping women have that smooth transition off birth control so they don't feel like they have to be on it forever, and to get to the root cause of, well, what's causing the painful period, the acne, the missing period to begin with, so we can reverse that and get them feeling better. So that's the difference between conventional and functional. So I was conventionally trained as a dietitian. But then through my own health journey, I, really made that transition into functional because conventional medicine was failing me, and I noticed it was failing so many other women. And that's, a big reason why I am doing this episode, because this is, like I said, something that I see a lot when women come in to meet with me. They're like, well, like that's actually a reservation a lot of women have when working with me because they've been through all the hoops and spent up, thousands of dollars, and they're really scared. They're really fearful that this approach won't work. They're like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if, what if I pay this money and it doesn't work? And I can totally understand that, right? Like a few episodes ago, I talked about how I spent $10,000 trying to fix my acne using the conventional route. And it wasn't until I fully trusted and dove into the functional medicine route that it could have saved me so much money and so much time and so much stress. But there was that reservation there, right? Like I just kept trying things, not wanting to invest in something because I was scared it wouldn't work. So I totally get it. And, what I tell them is I can't ethically, no one can guarantee you results. And what I can tell you is that this method that I use, where we run the functional labs, we do the deep dive assessment, I'm looking at labs and interpreting them in a different framework than you've ever done before. It worked for me and it's worked for my clients. And I will do my best to utilize my resources if we ever get stuck along the way and do deeper research. I will not quit on you. So a lot of times just having that peace of mind to them and just like being honest, right? Like I can't, I can't guarantee results, and I can tell you like this method works. I've seen it work time and time again, which is why I am so, excited to do this podcast in particular, because I think so many people need to talk about this and need to hear it. All right. Anyways, so the surface level approach, the difference between conventional and functional. So we talked about some examples of this, but going back to like acne, maybe it's birth control, or maybe it's those topicals or antibiotics, prescription medications. But, acne has so many root cause factors to it. It could be gut health, it could be blood sugar, it could be stress, mineral deficiencies, liver congestion. There are tons and tons of different things that can be the root cause of acne, and oftentimes it's not just one. So if you haven't yet, go back to my last two episodes where I talk about part 1 and part 2 of how I cleared my acne using a root cause functional approach after spending $10,000 doing it the wrong way. Those 3 episodes go really well together. The next thing I want to talk about is key body systems getting overlooked. The body is so interconnected, and we can't just look at one system in isolation and expect symptoms to resolve. So if we're assuming that chin acne is just hormonal, like if you look up chin acne, it's going to come up with like, oh, it's your hormones. And a lot of times people are going to jump straight to hormones as the root cause fix for it. But you're missing like 10 steps before that. And this is a mistake that I personally made, and I hear all the time. Women are like, oh, well, my acne is hormonal. And, it takes everything in me, because I made this mistake. I totally get it. And it's like, well, there's so much more to it than just that. Yes, it could be, there's a hormonal component possibly. And your hormones are one of the last things to change, just like your skin is one of the, it's signifying something deeper is going on. So, how's your stress? How are your minerals, right? Like, so many women who are acne deficient are depleted in so many minerals and vitamins that are crucial for skin health. How's your blood sugar regulation? How's your gut health and your liver? There's so many different things that go into it. And that's where the functional testing is really helpful too, to identify what's going on in your body. And all of these things need to be in place for optimal hormone balance. So your gut has to be in check, your liver, your minerals, your stress, nervous system, those things have to be in place first for hormones to even be, you know, optimally functioning. So this is one reason why I don't personally anymore utilize hormone testing very much, because I did that before when I first started my practice, and I was finding it just gave me more questions and answers of like, okay, well, why is progesterone low? Why is estrogen high? Versus addressing those other key body systems first gives you much better insight into why that's happening. So as you can already tell, just in the way I'm talking, I'm always asking why, but why? What's the deeper why behind it? So some things that are commonly skipped: minerals, the foundation of health. Minerals are like spark plugs. All of our body needs to function optimally. They're the driving force behind metabolism, our gut, our hormones, our skin, our thyroid. And standard blood tests for mineral levels aren't enough. They only show what's going on outside of the cell and in that exact moment in time when your blood is getting drawn, not what's happening inside your cells and throughout a longer period of time. So, this is why I use the hair tissue mineral analysis test with all of my clients in addition to blood labs, because it's giving me a deeper investigative lens on mineral status inside the cell, and it shows the past 3 months of your mineral status. It can also give us really good insights into how is your thyroid functioning on a cellular level, how is your nervous system, how is digestive function. So it doesn't just show mineral levels, it gives us key insights into certain body systems, which is really, really cool. It's a pretty amazing test, and that's why I use it on everybody. Another thing that's oftentimes skipped is digestive function and levels of good bacteria. Oftentimes, if someone's having digestive issues, doctors will jump straight to like breath tests for SIBO, so small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, or they'll jump straight to antibiotics with the assumption that there's too much bad bacteria in the gut. And having enough good bacteria in the gut in addition to bad bacteria, it's a fine line for your microbiome, which is the combination of good, bad bacteria in your gut. But good bacteria is really essential to preventing acne, to helping with digestive, a smooth digestive system, hormone balance, all of that kind of thing. So when we have lower levels of that, or if we've been put on antibiotics, that kills not only the the bad bacteria, but also the good bacteria. So that's why a lot of times women who I'm working with, when we look at their gut microbiome, we're seeing that it's not usually necessarily overgrowth, but it's oftentimes more like that they have they're lower in good bacteria in the gut, which can lead to those symptoms. Digestive function, in addition to that, so digestive function is how you're utilizing and breaking down your food. Can you actually break down and utilize the nutrients, the protein, the carbs, the fat from the food that you're eating? And this plays into stomach acid. A similar thing to what I was saying with the assumption that there's too much bad bacteria. A lot of times there's the assumption that people have too much stomach acid. In contrast, I see the opposite. I see that oftentimes the women I'm working with have too little stomach acid, so they're not digesting and absorbing the nutrition from the food. And a lot of times women are put on acid blockers, PPIs, things like that to lower stomach acid when it's already too low. And when you have low stomach acid, it has a whole domino effect. But it can play a huge role in skin, bloating, metabolism, things like that. So we're looking at both levels of good bacteria and digestive function in the labs that I'm doing, as well as bad bacteria, pathogenic bacteria. And then finally, another one, I could do a whole episode on this, but just these are the ones I really wanted to talk about today. Another one is copper imbalances. So copper is an essential mineral that we need, and it's something that if we have too much copper or too little copper, it can play a role in mental health, stress response, and hormone balance. So, birth control, a big reason I wanted to bring this one up specifically is its relationship to birth control. Birth control sometimes can increase copper levels due to synthetic estrogen, and copper and estrogen have a synergistic effect on each other. When one rises, the other one rises. So, because birth control has, most birth controls, combination pills or IUDs, will have estrogen in them. This can lead to copper levels going too high. And when copper levels are too high, it can lead to anxiety, mood swings, depression, PMS, heavy periods, brain fog, fatigue, much more. And so this is something I never see doctors testing are copper levels. And one of the biggest things that people reach out to me on Instagram about complaining of, especially when they've either been bopped around a different birth control pill to birth control pill or method, or they've stopped birth control, is mental health issues, anxiety, depression, mood swings, things like that. And doctors are never looking at copper levels. And I find this to be really huge in mental health and just overall health. So this is something I always, always test with people. The next thing I want to talk about are ranges. So why lab ranges matter. Conventional lab ranges are looking at what's normal for men and women, not what's optimal for you. I'll say that again. Conventional lab ranges, what your doctor is typically running, they're looking at what's normal for both men and women, not what's optimal for you. On the other hand, when I'm looking at lab work, I have a much more narrow range that I'm looking at, and I'm looking at what's optimal for you. That reflects ideal health and not just avoiding disease state. So I'm looking at it from a preventative angle and for optimal health versus just disease management. A lot of times conventional labs, they're waiting until disease develops before flagging it as an issue. So unless you have like liver disease or you're near liver disease, it may not flag your liver enzymes. So I'm going to give you an example of this. Conventional medicine, so you have 3 liver enzymes that I measure when I'm looking at liver health, which liver health is really important. I talk about this in my free masterclass. Really important to support your liver before coming off birth control because birth control puts a lot of stress on your liver. So does just living in industrialized society. I'm looking at 3 different enzymes, AST, ALT, alkaline phosphatase. So when I'm looking at AST, conventional medicine is looking at an average range of 0 to 40 as being normal. My range is 18 to 26. So when I got my liver enzymes drawn, and I was struggling with acne, anxiety, etc., conventional medicine said like, oh, your labs look normal. But my face and my mood clearly, were not. So when I learned the optimal ranges that I look at now, I was like, oh, like these are triple what I would consider normal. Another thing a lot of times we'll look at is thyroid. And thyroid labs, oftentimes doctors will only run like 2 to 3 thyroid labs versus I'm running 5 blood labs and a hair tissue mineral analysis to deeply assess thyroid levels. And my ranges are much different than conventional medicines. I take a preventative approach. So I identify balances in hormones, minerals, gut health, and metabolism long before they become a full-blown diagnosis. And a lot of times doctors will just, prescribe a medication to mask the symptom versus, again, I'm looking at, well, why? Why is this happening? So what can we correct nutrition, lifestyle, supplement wise to speed healing and correct this imbalance? I was just meeting with a potential client the other day, and she shared that her doctor thinks she might have to have her gallbladder removed. And I said, have you done have you gotten a second opinion or have you gotten any other testing done? And she said, no, I'm just having pain. And I forget exactly what she said. We didn't dive too deep into it with a just free initial call, but that's something I hear quite a bit. And really there's lots of things you can do to support your gallbladder that can be, from liver gallbladder support, minerals, all that kind of stuff before jumping straight to, oh, we have to remove it. So looking at the ranges on a deeper, more narrow range of what's optimal for women's health and taking the whole body into account is really, really important. So putting everything together, we talked about, why you still don't feel good and are having symptoms, but your labs keep coming back as normal and you're kind of like, what the heck is going on? The wrong labs are run. The standard testing lacks personalization, and we're not getting into the deeper root cause. The surface level approach to symptoms versus the why is this happening. And key body systems get overlooked, and lab reference ranges matter. A lot of times the ranges are too wide comparatively to what I would consider as optimal. So final thoughts, in addition to that summary, are your labs giving you the full picture? If you've been told your labs are normal, but you still don't feel right, there are probably missing pieces to the puzzle. I mean, I can guarantee that you know your body best. And all too often, women are told, like, that's just normal. That's just a part of being a woman. Go on birth control, lose weight, eat healthier, exercise more. When that's not the answer. We need to be doing the deeper work of figuring out why is that happening. Women deserve better. And I will take this opportunity to say, like, this episode isn't to bash doctors. And I say I was conventionally trained. Now I'm more on the functional side of things. I do blend both worlds though. I take Lexapro for anxiety. I'm not against medication. I think that it can be a good complement as long as it's not the only solution to things. We have to be digging deeper into why is this happening? Why do you feel like this? And instead of throwing medications at it to just treat that problem, we have to dig deeper into to uncover, but what is leading to this? Can there be other things that we can do in addition? So in addition to taking Lexapro, I have other stress management tools in my tool belt, and I ran functional labs to help uncover my copper was high, and that was leading to anxiety. There were definitely things in my life that I had to shift to help with that. And it's a multifaceted approach. We can't just look at it from one lens or the other. This is where there are just so many pieces of the puzzle, and every person is so unique. And that's truly what I want you to take away from this. If you feel like something is wrong in your body, but you're being told everything's fine, keep pushing. Find someone who listens to you, like myself, who does that deep assessment, who runs the right labs, looks at it from a framework of what's optimal for your health, looks at your unique body, your unique labs, your unique symptoms, your unique goals, and gives you a plan that's customized to you. Okay. Hopefully this was empowering. Hopefully you leave this feeling like, okay, I got this. I'm going to figure out what's going on, and I'm going to get someone on board with my team who's going to help me with this. If you like this episode, please share it. I think this would be a great one to share with other girlfriends, colleagues, family members. And until next time, stay nourished.